Young Chen Fan transmigrated and accidentally acquired a system, thinking he had hit the jackpot, only to find it useless for 10 years while he remained unable to cultivate, unaware that he had been secretly buffed to be the most powerful being on the server. Whether it was music, chess, calligraphy, painting, or even debt collection, he mastered everything, and a few casual strokes of his pen could manifest the very will of the heavenly Tao. Simple painting of his could turn the world upside down, and today, while out hunting with his bow, Chen Fan spotted a person and an eagle engaged in a fierce battle in the sky. Seeing a beautiful woman in distress, he immediately drew his bow and shot at the black eagle, which looked down on him as one of the 4 great guardians of the 100 Beasts sect. The eagle thought a mere mortal was no threat, but before it could even screech, it was killed by his arrow, after which Chen Fan rescued the girl and brought her home to recover. An hour later, the girl woke up. She was Yi Jingyu, the sect master of the Jade Sword sect, and she found Chen Fan's soft bed so delightful that she rolled around in comfort. She soon realized the room was extraordinary, as every item was engraved with Tao patterns, and the calligraphy and paintings on the walls radiated spiritual energy that granted her instant enlightenment. In the blink of an eye, she advanced from the mid-stage spirit martial realm to the peak spirit martial realm, realizing with terror that her savior was a peerless expert. When Chen Fan returned to check on her, Yi Jingyu kept addressing him as a senior and an expert while thanking him profusely. She gazed at him with the admiration of a fangirl meeting her idol, leaving him baffled and thinking that while she was beautiful, her mind seemed tragically unstable. Yi Jingyu suddenly knelt to ask to be his disciple, making him think that as a martial artist wanting to learn from a mortal, she truly had mental issues. Fearing she might kill him if she lost her mind, Chen Fan decided to turn her away by confessing that he was just a mortal who could not accept disciples. These words left Yi Jingyu deeply disappointed, yet she wondered why such a senior would claim to be a mere mortal until a realization struck her. She concluded that the senior was posing as a mortal to experience the mundane world, having long ago seen through the red dust as a true peerless expert. Even the way he sat and grilled meat exuded the aura of a sage educating all living beings, though his drooling from hunger looked remarkably realistic for an expert. Meanwhile, at the Jade Sword sect, a horrific battle had occurred, and sect master Yi Jinghong roared in rage at the elders who had betrayed the sect for the enemy. Standing before him were the 3rd and 7th elders, who mocked the old man for being stuck at the peak of the spirit martial realm for 30 years. They claimed there was no point in following him since he couldn't break through, and the Jade Sword sect was destined to be destroyed by the 100 Beast sect. Yi Jinghong trembled with fury, calling them shameless for ambushing him, but Qin Wu, the young sect master of the 100 Beast sect, suddenly interrupted him. With an arrogant expression, Qin Wu told him that only those who recognize the trend of the times are heroes, and offered him an elder position if he surrendered. His arrogant words only fueled Yi Jinghong's anger, and he declared that the 100 Beast sect was not worthy of his surrender. Qin Wu smiled triumphantly and ordered his death, but just then, a swift figure appeared in the sky to confront the shameless traitors, Yang Tai and Li Teixin. Yi Jingyu was beyond furious as she pointed her blade at the traitors, declaring she would personally purge the sect today, while the 2 traitors just laughed. They mocked her, saying they thought the beauty had fled, but were surprised she had returned just to seek her own death. Yi Jinghong was shocked to see his daughter, and urgently told her to flee immediately. She told her father to leave the enemies to her, but Yi Jinghong immediately shielded her and told her not to talk such nonsense. He warned her that Qin Wu was at the peak spirit martial realm, and she was no match, urging her to run while he held them back. Qin Wu, having overheard their conversation, curled his lips into a contemptuous smile and mocked the idea of her escaping as a mere dream. He wasted no more time and ordered his traitorous subordinates to kill Yi Jinghong and capture Yi Jingyu alive. The 2 traitors obeyed with cruel eyes, but to Yi Jinghong's absolute astonishment, his daughter suddenly charged forward with eyes burning with resentment. She commanded the ungrateful traitors to prepare for death as she unleashed her power. Faced with her sudden explosion of strength, the 2 traitors were terrified to realize she had reached the peak spirit martial realm. Before they could react, Yi Jingyu swung her sword like a storm, her sharp sword chi striking like lightning to end their lives on the spot. Witnessing this horrific scene, Qin Wu broke into a cold sweat, his face turning white with fear at the sight of her power. He couldn't believe that she had managed to break through 3 levels in a single day, as she was only at the early spirit martial realm before. Yi Jinghong, watching his daughter's every move, was wide-eyed with shock and speechless, thinking, "Jingyu, my child." With a proud demeanor, Yi Jingyu pointed her sharp blade decisively at Qin Wu and declared boldly, "Qin Wu, it is your turn now." He was now completely panicked and immediately ordered his remaining subordinates to retreat at once, and the cowardly group fled with Qin Wu while shouting, "You guys just wait. The Cloud Sword sect will surely be destroyed. The cries of the 100 Beast sect's retreat faded away, leaving every member of the sect behind. Everyone erupted in joy upon seeing the enemy scatter in flight, cheering, "We won! We have protected our sect!" While cheers resounded everywhere, Yi Jinghong remained pensive as he approached his daughter and spoke sternly. "Jingyu, what actually happened?" It was known that Wuhua Island is located in the East Sea Archipelago under the Chilean Kingdom's rule. 3 powerful sects reside on this island: the 100 Beast sect, the Cloud Sword sect, and the Chengyan Valley, with an anonymous mountain to the east. At this moment, Yi Jingyu recounted the entire incident to her father, and Yi Jinghong listened thoughtfully before speaking about her claims. He remarked that if that senior truly came from Earth, a forbidden place, she was overestimating herself by dreaming of becoming his disciple. He noted it was fortunate the senior was generous and did not take offense at her naivety, but Yi Jingyu suddenly felt puzzled and looked up to ask her father. "But father, why didn't we just fly up there?" Yi Jinghong clenched his fists in anger, asking her what she knew. He explained that only walking could show their absolute respect for the senior, before producing a shimmering piece of jade. "Later, present this Cloud Sword jade butterfly to him to repay him for saving your life," he said, though the daughter felt a bit anxious. She noted that although the Cloud Sword jade butterfly was their sect's ancestral treasure, she feared the senior might not even value it. Yi Jinghong looked at the jade pendant with determination, admitting that while it might be worthless to the senior, they must offer it. He added that they must show sincerity to cling to the senior's support, as the 100 Beast sect would not let them off easily. Yi Jingyu happily pointed to a distant house, saying they were almost there, while Yi Jinghong was terrified and his eyes widened when he saw the scene. His arms trembled as he touched the railing, noticing strange characters on the bridge known as Dao patterns while the water below was steaming. That steam was pure spiritual energy from the water. The house before them looked ordinary but contained countless mysterious Dao patterns and celestial aura. He suddenly spotted vines wrapped around a tree trunk, recognizing them as the legendary ancestor of vines, the dragon-binding vine. He also saw the legendary ancestor of white wood, a heaven-measuring tree, and a flaming black bird caught his attention. It was the legendary ancient beast, the solar golden crow, and the bird's eyes suddenly glowed with a terrifying intensity. Yi Jinghong felt an overwhelming pressure and instinctively collapsed to the ground when his eyes met the bird's, prompting Yi Jingyu to ask if he was all right. She wondered if a powerhouse from Earth was truly that terrifying, while Chen Fan was leisurely picking his teeth and muttering about a carefree life in the mortal world. Suddenly, a knock sounded at the door, surprising Chen Fan, who wondered who would visit his place before calling out, I'm coming." After opening the door, he was surprised to see the 2 guests, as Yi Jingyu greeted him with a radiant smile. "Young Master Chen, I'm so sorry." "We've come to disturb you again," she said, while Chen Fan was a bit confused by their appearance and asked why she was there with her father. She explained that her father wanted to thank him for saving her, and Chen Fan looked at Yi Jinghong's timid expression. He secretly guessed that this large man's legs were weak, assuming he was just an ordinary mortal. He figured the man had been frightened while riding on his flying sword, but Yi Jinghong was terrified by the intricate Dao patterns on the toothpick. He thought it was a high-grade, profound tool, realizing his sect's treasure was only mid-grade, just as Chen Fan spat the toothpick onto the ground. He told himself it was rude to pick his teeth while receiving guests, but to Yi Jinghong, it looked like a high-grade, profound treasure was being discarded. Chen Fan smiled and invited them in for tea, calling them Jingyu and Old Uncle, which made Yi Jinghong feel slightly more at ease. Yi Jinghong replied while trying to stay calm, as Chen Fan called out to Zhao Bai to put the toothpick in the trash where it belonged. The scenery within Chen Fan's estate was an eye-opening experience for Yi Jinghong, who was inwardly stunned, wondering if these were truly exquisite spirit flowers. Good heavens, this pond is filled entirely with spiritual springs. The garden's layout follows the number of great derivation, harmonizing perfectly with the way of Zen. Could this be the legendary divine deduction array? Meanwhile, Chen Fan simply thought this was the result of his renovations after becoming the god of architecture and sculpture. He suddenly turned to ask Yi Jinghong, "Old Yi, you're knowledgeable about architecture and gardens, right? What do you think of my little garden's arrangement?" Chen Fan's question threw Yi Jinghong into a panic, as he quickly reasoned that the expert preferred to live disguised as an ordinary mortal. Therefore, he had to play his part. Overpraising might actually displease the expert. He gestured around, attempting to maintain a casual demeanor while offering praise. "This house is well built, the pavilion is lovely, and this tree is perfectly placed." Chen Fan smiled awkwardly at the man's timid behavior. "Haha, please come inside for some tea." Chen Fan thought Old Yi was just an ordinary farmer and wondered why he had expected anything profound. Inside the house, Chen Fan served them hot tea, casually reminding them to drink slowly so they wouldn't choke. After finishing his cup, Yi Jinghong was struck with awe, thinking that the spiritual energy contained within the tea was truly terrifying. Furthermore, a unique power surged through his meridians, even managing to heal the persistent old injuries he had carried for years. This was far more potent than any miraculous elixir. Jing Hung's eyes widened as his face filled with absolute astonishment. He couldn't stop praising the hot tea in his hands, saying, "Young Master Chen, your tea is truly a supreme delicacy, incredibly delicious." At the same time, Yi Jingyu seemed captivated by an irresistible charm emanating from Chen Fan. Subconsciously, she sensed a change. A powerful transformation occurred within her body. Could Xiao Yu's expression be due to tea intoxication? These 2 cups had helped her reach the 3rd level of the Jade Tree Heart Sutra. With every such breakthrough, one's 7 emotions and 6 desires would erupt intensely. She felt a strange energy surging through her. Noticing Jingyu seemed unwell, Chen Fan scratched his head in confusion, then remembered something he wanted to ask her. "By the way, Xiao Yu, I wonder if you have a soul-testing stone to check for a martial soul." Upon hearing his words, Jingyu suddenly clutched her chest, her breathing becoming rapid. A wave of profound regret washed over her. She had nearly behaved disrespectfully toward an expert, which was truly unforgivable. Fortunately, the expert had snapped her out of it in time. He truly lived up to his reputation, identifying the flaw in her cultivation with just a glance. Immediately after, the jade ring on Jingyu's arm emitted a soft glow, proving that the rumors were indeed true. It was true that warriors possessed storage artifacts capable of holding mountains and seas. From the ring, a soul-testing stone appeared. Jingyu gently set it down and said, "Young Master Chen, just place your right hand on the palm print on the stone." Chen Fan did as she instructed. Placing his hand on the cold surface of the soul-testing stone, he felt hopeful, thinking that if he had a martial soul, he could join a sect. He could then roam the world freely and ascend to the peak of the martial path. However, after waiting for quite some time, long enough to have finished a cup of tea, the soul-testing stone remained silent without any reaction. Chen Fan turned his gaze toward Jingyu. Filled with doubt, he asked, "The stone hasn't reacted at all. Does this mean I don't have a martial soul?" Jingyu was also stunned. What was happening? Had the world gone mad? How could such an expert not possess a martial soul? She wondered in shock. In deep disappointment, Chen Fan sighed heavily and walked away, muttering that it was no wonder the system had abandoned him since he was just a failure. The father and daughter began to whisper. Jingyu asked, "Father, why doesn't the expert have a martial soul?" Jinghang shook his head knowingly. How could an expert not have a martial soul? He must have used some divine method to render the soul-testing stone ineffective. He truly is an expert. Jingyu listened, her mind filled with confusion as she struggled to understand his reasoning. But why would he pretend to have no martial soul and be unable to cultivate? "What do you know?" Jinghang replied smugly. Looking like a prophet who had uncovered a great mystery, he said, "An expert becomes immortal to experience the sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy flavors of life." "And for a mortal, what is the most painful thing?" "What is it?" Jingyu asked eagerly, suddenly realizing the answer, having no martial soul. Being unable to become a martial artist makes one a member of the lowest class, a lowly creature on the martial god continent, which is why the expert suppressed his own martial soul to experience the agony and despair of being powerless. Jing Hong offered a crucial suggestion to his daughter Jing Wu, telling her that this was a magnificent opportunity for her, to which he asked what he meant. "You should pretend to comfort the expert so he can feel the warmth of the mortal world, which will assist his spiritual cultivation and ensure he remembers you." At that moment, Chen Fan was outside with tears of regret streaming down his face, as he had originally believed the system would allow him to do whatever he pleased. He thought he could easily reach the peak, but instead he pointed at the sky in anger, his heart filled with resentment as he even began to curse the heavens. "Why must you toy with me like this?" he cried, before Jing Hong gently placed a hand on Chen Fan's shoulder to comfort him, asking if young Master Chen was all right and mentioning the soul-testing stone he brought. Perhaps something went wrong with it, but even if you cannot become a martial artist, being an ordinary person has its own unique joys. Chen Fan looked up and softly thanked the young lady for her kindness, after which Jing Wu produced an exquisite jade pendant. "Young Master Chen, my father said this is a Yi family heirloom, and since you saved Jing Wu's life, please accept this cloud sword butterfly jade." Chen Fan looked at the jade pendant with suspicion, thinking it was a token of affection. While the jade was of good quality, the carving was poor, so he decided to accept it, assuming it wasn't very valuable. Jing Hong observed the expression on Chen Fan's face and thought to himself that, judging by the expert's reaction, this butterfly jade was indeed just a trivial item to him. Jing Wu cheerfully said it was getting late and they should take their leave, to which Chen Fan offered to see them out, while Jing Hong clapped his hands and shyly asked if he could help take out the trash. Chen Fan looked at him with doubt, thinking that such an honest old farmer must have endured much hardship to support Xiao Wu's cultivation. He then pointed to a box on the table and replied that it was fine, adding that the black eagle meat tasted decent and was quite nutritious. Although there isn't much left, it makes for a good snack, so you might as well take it, he said, prompting Jing Hong to joyfully remark on young Master Chen's kindness. Once everything was settled, the three waved goodbye, and Chen Fan invited Xiao Wu and her father to visit again whenever they had time. Jing Wu and Jing Hong promised they would, as the scene shifted to the Grand Hall of the 100 Beast Sect, where Qin Wu was respectfully reporting to the sect leader, Qin Bang. Previously, Jing Wu was only at the early stage of the spirit martial realm, but within half a day, she had continuously broken through to the peak of the spirit martial realm. This was truly unbelievable, and he suspected that the wench had obtained a massive opportunity, while Qin Bang, the man with the red horns characteristic of the 100 Beasts sect leader, listened. He remarked that the two of them had to rely on bestowed spirit pills to reach the peak of the spirit martial realm and the early stage of the martial soul realm. Yet Jing Wu managed to break through 3 levels of power consecutively, which was inexplicable, so he had temporarily retreated to wait for his father's decision. He turned to a man in a black robe standing nearby and asked for the High Envoy's opinion on the matter. In a low voice, the man replied that on Wuhua Island, only the legendary treasure of the Fire Cloud Taoist could cause such a terrifying change, causing Qin Wu to grit his teeth in anger and greed at the thought of such an opportunity. No one had found it for hundreds of years, and if the 100 Beast sect could seize this chance, Qin Wu bowed with clasped hands and pleaded with Qin Bang. He begged his father to give the order, as he was willing to lead the sect's elites to raise the Cloud Sword sect and seize the Fire Cloud Taoist's treasure. This was truly a once-in-a-millennium opportunity, but the High Envoy suddenly intervened, telling them there was no need to rush. He suggested spreading the news that the Cloud Sword sect had stolen the Fire Cloud Taoist's treasure, leading Qin Wu to ask if the High Envoy intended to let others fight amongst themselves, as he smiled smugly. They only needed to sit back and wait to reap the rewards, a devious plan that left both Qin Bang and Qin Wu feeling extremely satisfied. Soon after, their loud, conspiratorial laughter echoed outside the 100 Beasts sect hall, while Jing Wu and Jing Hong were on their way back. Jing Wu excitedly told her father she was ready and asked him to open the trash bag they had taken from Chen Fan's house, which Jing Hong did with a solemn expression. He believed high-grade profound tools were inside, and as soon as the bag was opened, a blinding light and a powerful aura suddenly burst forth. The two recoiled in shock at the intense aura, amazed that the expert's trash bag was filled with low-grade profound tools, proving he was truly a powerhouse from Earth. Jing Hong then pulled a used toothpick that Chen Fan had discarded from the bag, and both were stunned to see a strange light shimmering on the tiny object. They realized that if this toothpick were used with full force, it could likely level an entire mountain range, proving how terrifying the expert's treasures truly were. Jing Hong looked at the small pieces of eagle meat in the box and thought to himself that he had originally planned to return to the sect and wash up. After offering incense in worship, they slowly savored the food bestowed by the expert, but it was truly too alluring to resist. "There isn't much meat left, so why don't you eat first, father?" Jing Yu said generously as Yi Jinghong began gnawing on a hawk bone. Only a tiny scrap of meat remained, yet a single bite moved him to tears of shock. It was packed with dense spiritual energy and an incredible flavor. Unable to restrain himself, he devoured every remaining scrap in the box, causing his body to explode with power and his clothes to tear apart. "Is this the power of the soul martial realm?" he exclaimed in shock as Jing Yu watched her father break through, realizing he had finally surpassed the peak spirit martial stage where he had been stuck for 30 years. Just a few scraps of meat from the expert had completely altered her father's destiny, leaving Yi Jinghong bowing repeatedly to heaven and earth in gratitude. "I thank the expert for his assistance. Yi Jinghong will remember this immense kindness in his heart forever," he vowed as Jing Yu lowered her head. She felt a deep sense of regret, realizing that if she had accepted the expert's previous invitation to stay for a meal, she wouldn't have missed such a rare opportunity. Wondering when she might taste the expert's delicacies again, the next morning arrived in a peaceful setting filled with bright sunshine. A tiny ant was fast asleep inside a hollow branch while in the distance, Xiao Bai, the playful little dog, was busy. He was chasing a black crow that had landed in the yard while Chen Fan, their master, sighed with regret as he inventoried the items in his system. "It's a pity. If I had a storage ring, I could have carried more things," he said with a gentle smile while stroking the soft feathers of the bird on his shoulder. "All right, I'm descending the mountain this time to seek out new opportunities, hoping to find the soul-testing stones of other major sects. It's not convenient to bring you along," he said, waving goodbye to his two pets with a bright smile. "Xiao Bai, Xiao Wu, look after the house until I return." The two pets watched their master disappear into the distance and obeyed his command, but as soon as Chen Fan was out of sight, they reverted to their true forms. One was a radiant solar golden crow, and the other a majestic howling celestial hound. The golden crow immediately boasted that the master had called its name first. No, the master definitely called my name first. The howling celestial hound growled in response, insisting it was the one who held the top spot in their master's heart. Hidden in the shadows, the ancient demon ant sighed and lamented that this was the 1086th time the master had completely ignored its existence. The nearby dragon-binding vine swayed slightly and remarked indifferently that their master was once again playing the role of a weakling to seek the truth through hardship. Zio Bai's reminder infuriated the ancient demon ant, as the dog pointed out that the master didn't even know it existed, yet the ant argued that he had never driven it away. That proves he has accepted me, the ancient demon ant argued resentfully, though Zio Bai bluntly stated it was only because the master had never actually seen it. After Zio Bai exposed the truth, the ancient demon ant wept to the nearby azure heaven staff, insisting that the master had not abandoned it. Fine, the more of us there are, the stronger we'll be. We must protect this home for the master, they agreed as the scene shifted to the bustling Kingxi town. The townspeople were joyfully welcoming Chen Fan, with one friendly voice calling out, "Good morning, young Master Chen." "Are you bringing something interesting to sell at the market today, young Master Chen?" another asked, just as a beautiful girl whispered seductively into his ear. "Young Master Chen, I've been waiting here for you since the afternoon," she teased, causing the romantically inexperienced young man to recoil in panic and tell her to stay back. She laughed gracefully at his reaction, telling him not to be afraid because she wasn't going to eat him, even as her playful invitation made him want to bolt. "Besides, I won't even charge you," she added, but he firmly declined and continued on his way, saying he had no need for such things. Soon after, a kind-faced, middle-aged man suddenly grabbed his arm and urged, "Young Master Chen, please come inside and sit for a while." He respectfully led him into the Faiyuan Inn to try some new dishes, prompting Chen Fan to remark that old Wang's business seemed to be doing quite well. "It's all thanks to your guidance that the Faiyuan Inn is so lively today," old Wang replied gratefully as he led Chen Fan toward the upper floor. He explained that Kingxi Town had recently become unusually crowded with martial artists who occupied the second floor, asking if young Master Chen would mind sitting on the first floor instead. Chen Fan realized that old Wang was worried he would be uncomfortable around the martial artists, given the vast difference between them and mortals, but he knew they weren't man-eaters. "What is there to fear?" he thought with a confident smile, telling old Wang it was fine to go upstairs since the first floor was already completely full. "Then please follow me to the second floor," old Wang said, but as soon as Chen Fan stepped up, a teacup suddenly shattered right in front of him. He saw a man brutally trampling a young waiter and wondered if this was Lin Zioyan, the former top genius of the Lin family. How could he have fallen so low as to become an errand boy for an inn? The onlookers began whispering as they overheard the conversation about Lin Zioyan, the genius who entered the path of martial arts at 8 and reached the peak origin martial realm at 9. Unfortunately, his true essence vanished completely at age 10. He turned into a useless loser and was expelled from the Lin family. Zioyan bowed his head in humiliation, carefully cleaning the broken dishes while screaming internally. "If that old monster inside me hadn't devoured all my true qi, I wouldn't be in this state." Lin Dong looked down at him with a face full of contempt. He slammed a gold coin onto the ground and told him to kowtow 3 times to earn it. Pushed to the brink of humiliation, Zioyan clenched his fists. He angrily told Lin Dong to stop his excessive bullying since he had already left the family, but Lin Dong aggressively ordered him to stay put. The young man ignored the threats and continued walking, his voice carrying a warning for Lin Dong not to underestimate him. Old Wang whispered to Chen Fan that the boy often muttered to himself, explaining Zioyan's strange and incomprehensible words. He lamented that if his cultivation hadn't been drained, he wouldn't have been kicked out of his clan or had his engagement broken by his fiancée. Chen Fan frowned and wondered if the boy was mentally ill, but as Zioyan passed him, a sudden chill erupted along with flashes of lightning. Immediately after, an old man surged out of the young man's body, turned into smoke, and fled through the window in a state of total panic. The old man seemed to sense something terrifying and fled, leaving Zioyan to realize that the creature devouring his true qi was finally gone. Young Zioyan collapsed to his knees in joy, thanking the heavens that the old man had fled and he no longer had to live as a servant. Chen Fan helped the boy up while privately wondering why he was laughing and crying at the same time, concluding he must have mental issues. Zioyan believed that the old man had been scared away by this big brother, who must have seen his plight and decided to help him. He nodded repeatedly to Chen Fan's surprise and thanked the senior for saving him, though Chen Fan insisted he was just helping him stand up. Chen Fan replied in confusion as Zioyan, covered in tears, gripped his hand tightly while Chen Fan urged him to get up quickly. Zioyan wondered why the senior had no martial aura, while Lin Dong mocked them both as trash for kneeling to a commoner. Lin Dong claimed Zioyan had disgraced the Lin family, causing Zioyan's rage to flare as he told Lin Dong that insulting him was one thing. He questioned how Lin Dong could insult others,